Hello everybody, and welcome to take 2 of the 113th episode of Gear Garage, Zach Collier's famous show on outdoor gear. Today we're going to talk about a really interesting piece of equipment, the Alpacka, what's it called, Jean?
It's the Alpacka, the classic.
The classic Packraft. And the purpose of this thing is to have a light, portable boat that actually runs Whitewater well, which is a tall order. And we just tested it out now with Jean Baptiste Tully, and we're going to start just by getting his general impression. So Jean, what did you think of the boat, first of all?
Overall, I really liked the boat. I thought for being kind of an inflatable blow-up kayak that it moved very, very well, and it moved like pretty similar to a kayak, to a hardshell kayak. The model I was using didn't have knee straps, and that made some of the moves challenging, as in like the BZ falls or Houston falls were a little bit tougher. Okay,
well let's start first of all then. So you found it maneuvered pretty well. Mm-hmm. Who would you recommend this product for? What would be a range of person who might like this boat?
I think for you to enjoy this boat, I think you should be a pretty comfortable hardshell kayaker and have some experience doing harder stuff. I think if you have no experience kayaking, it's going to be a little bit unstable for you. But if you know how to eddy out and just slightly lean into stuff and lean away, then it's going to treat you well.
What about if your experience is in an IK, inflatable kayak, a different model? Because this is a fairly small, light, compact boat. What if you know how to IK, haven't been in a hardshell? Would this be a good choice?
I think it would be. It depends on what you're doing. I think for smaller, creakier stuff, the Packraft is going to be awesome.
Okay.
But if you're doing bigger stuff, the boat's just a little more unstable than your classic inflatable kayak.
What if you've only rafted and you're looking to move into something a little more exciting, like an inflatable kayak?
I think you'd want to start with kind of your classic, bigger ducky. And from there, and once you get comfortable in that, you can move into more of the Packraft.
So what I'm hearing is it's quite maneuverable, but it's not it's unstable if you don't have a little bit of experience.
Yeah, and I would say the boat I was using was a self-drainer, which I thought was awesome. I don't really think that you'd need a skirt for it, but having knee straps would be a big help for running tougher stuff.
So how tough would you go on this? Like, would you run, class 5 exploratory run? Would you take it on the North Fork pit? I mean, what would be the limits that would seem reasonable to you for this boat?
I think for me, I felt really comfortable on everything, but swam on BZ and Houston. And so I think with a little more practice, maybe I wouldn't swim on those. But as someone that feels like very, very comfortable in a hard shell doing those, they were tougher. And so I definitely wouldn't take it down the North Fork of the Payette with my abilities now. But I think for low water creaky stuff, it's awesome.
Well, you mentioned earlier, if I remember, something about knee straps or not having straps. Why don't we look at your runs here at BZ and at Houston, just kind of, because I was there, I watched them. They were hilarious and entertaining and pretty darn good, but it looked to me like the real problem was you couldn't stay in the boat when there was a sudden change of direction or force, like you basically just got pulled out.
Yeah.
Do you feel like if you'd had knee straps, and at this point, Zach, can we run for the audience the video of him?
I theoretically was just playing it.
Oh, good. Thank you. Anyway, so as you guys can probably see, here's John, and everything's looking great until the final, second on both runs when he just gets yanked out of the boat. So if you'd had knee straps, what do you think would have happened on those 2 runs?
I mean, I think without knee straps, it's kind of like a big inflatable inner tube. That's awesome and super fun, but you don't really have anything holding you in the boat. And so if you do have knee straps, then you at least have something where you're not going to get washed out on harder stuff.
Okay.
But on everything else on the Arletta section, I was fine, and it wasn't really a problem.
Would this boat be appropriate for, considerably easier water? Would you take this to like a lake and paddle it, or is it, would that be problematic, do you think?
I wouldn't bring it to a lake. I think it's this boat is perfect for smaller, creakier stuff. Like ideally where you're going to be hiking in, because it is super light and the hike in is going to be super easy with it.
I did notice that at one point we traded boats on the hike in because I was old and I'm weak and he's young and strong. And he took my hard shell boat and I picked up your boat and it was just ridiculous. You can almost pick it up with a couple fingers. What do you think it weighed?
I don't. I mean, it says a lot when you have a throw bag clipped to the front and the throw bag throws the weight off on the boat. So
wow.
It doesn't weigh anything. It's
wow.
super easy to carry in.
Zach, what do the specs say? What does this boat weigh? Do you know? Why don't you go look for us?
Go look at the
go look.
computer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Our assistant Zach. We want to know what it actually weighs. Inflated. So, but it was ridiculously light. I thought it was amazing. It seemed to me like the kind of thing you could pack up into a backpack. We didn't really get to test the backpack feature, but that I think is the idea. You can pack it up, put it on your back, and hike almost anywhere with it. You wouldn't be impeded at all with that thing on your back. You could probably, if you're a rock climber. You're a pretty good rock climber. Do you think you could do some technical rock climbing with that on your back if you had to?
I mean, if you had to.
Yeah. Not ideal, but
you could.
Point being, you can really get into some out-of-the-way places with this, and then have like a super reliable, surprisingly, functional kayak, that you can just bring almost anywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, I think also like it's not the easiest thing to boof over stuff, but like I definitely felt times where I could like slightly get over holes or. I
thought your boof, for those of you who may or may not know, that's a kayaking term where you launch off a drop and then you land clean and flat, clear of the hole, and you make supposedly a noise like the sound boof. Anyway, so that's what that is referring to. And it looked to me like Jean was able to separate and get that and land flat, but then on the landing, that's when the trouble ensued. Probably again because of the lack of the knee straps.
Yeah.
But it seemed to me like it would be a great exploratory. But how about like I have some friends who like to fish, and they would love to go into like isolated creeks where hard to get to, float down. Would you try fishing from this boat?
I think this boat's awesome for kind of like exploratory, like kayak fishing runs. I mean, you definitely could fish from it. I think it would be ideal to kind of use the boat to take you into a super remote place and then fish from there.
Do you have any experience actually fishing from a kayak?
Not from a kayak, no.
But so because when I think of sharp hooks and that light material, in a remote setting, I kind of get just a little nervous at the thought of actually fishing from the kayak. But so maybe like hike to a place with it, paddle down with it, put it off to the side, and stand on the shore and fish.
That's kind of how I see it going.
And it has that neat little, what's that pocket thing in the back that you can carry gear, and I guess if you actually caught something, you could throw your fish back there, maybe.
Yeah, like having the zipper in the back. I mean, it's great if you're just gonna open it up at night. It's kind of a little bit of a pain to blow the boat up every time you take stuff out, but I think that's an awesome feature that makes it super easy to carry gear.
Let's talk about the blowing up part. That was interesting to me too. I've never seen a pump that looked like that. At some point, I'm sure Zach will show a little video of how this pump works. It was very strange. Tell us about that.
I was very skeptical and thought people were joking with me when they showed me the pump. But
what is it? What does the pump consist of?
It's kind of like a giant bag that you inflate with air. That has a little nozzle, and then you just kind of squish the bag together and push the air into the kayak. And it honestly worked really well. It was super lightweight for doing expedition type stuff. The pump's gonna weigh nothing, and it worked pretty well. I think I pumped up like 80% of the boat with the bag, and then just blew it up with my mouth. The other part.
Speaking of expeditions, is this a boat that you could take on an overnight? Is there room for gear? Like how, where are its limitations in terms of that, in your opinion?
I think it has plenty of room for gear. I think in terms of doing self-support kayaking, it can hold about the same, like if not more gear than the back of a kayak could.
So you would take it on an overnight?
Yeah, I would feel very comfortable taking it.
How about 2 nights?
Yeah, I mean, we just did the Treco in it. I think, depending how light you're going with food, I think you could go, I don't know, like 5 nights-ish?
5 nights.
5 or
Okay.
6. Yeah, I think people could do a week in it,
Wow.
which depends like
But we're talking
how dirtbag you want to go.
okay, like freeze-dried food, no stove,
Yeah,
and
you could do stuff.
what would you use to sleep? Like just a tarp and like comfortable rocks on the ground, or or would you bring?
I think you can
pad?
fit a small blow-up pad inside.
Okay.
I mean, you can fit stuff in the entire tubes, so
Great,
it's
great.
awesome. Yeah.
So to just wrap up, we've got a small, lightweight, maneuverable, surprisingly good boat for running whitewater that weighs next to nothing and that you can carry in to almost anywhere, and even do some overnight trips as long as the weather's pretty good. You don't have to bring any heavy stuff.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was an awesome boat. It was a lot of fun to paddle. I think the knee straps definitely would have helped to kind of hold myself in, but overall I was really happy with it and thought it'd be fun to do more trips in it.
Well, I thought it was awesome to watch you, and it actually, like I said, it surprised me how well it did, and it made me want to give it a try myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that concludes this episode of Gear Garage, and Zach's over there smiling. With any luck, it's a benign smile, and we haven't made a mess of his beloved series. And I suppose if this actually gets posted on the internet, I'll know that we did okay. And thank you for watching.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.